The apocalypse has arrived because I craved braised pork so much that I realized I had become a magical artist like Mao Yang. As long as I draw on my tablet, whatever I draw comes to life. With this special ability, I achieved food independence during the apocalypse, and even used my clever tactics to fight zombies, collaborated with the government, and saved the world. 01. It's the 6th day since the apocalypse fully descended. I looked at the apple in my hand. Fragrant as if just plucked from a tree, and my worldview crumbled. My name is Sophia. 6 nights ago, the government issued an emergency broadcast announcing the apocalypse, with some humans mutating and becoming aggressive. They advised residents to stay silent and avoid unnecessary travel. As a timid homebody, I survived until today on 2 packs of snail rice noodles and 4 packs of turkey noodles. However, just now, I ate the last pack of turkey noodles in my cupboard. All that's left at home is a handful of noodles and half a bag of rice. Nothing else. Tears of pain streamed down my face. It wasn't hunger, but craving. I craved cheesy corn, chicken gravy, mashed potatoes, black pepper beef tenderloin, spicy braised chicken, braised ribs, vinegar sauce fish, and I also wanted apples, bananas, grapes, pears, if possible. Some fresh vegetables would be nice too. I'm constipated from eating junk food and pure carbs every day. Whimpering, stop the sadness. Conserve energy. The pain reminded me of the ancient wisdom of drawing cakes to satisfy hunger and looking at plums to quench thirst. I took out my tablet, found my drawing app, and launched it. Casually, I drew a big apple. With my elementary school level drawing skills, drawing a big apple was no pressure at all. Staring at the screen, tears rolled down my cheeks as if I could already smell the apple's fragrance. If only it were real. Whimpering. My longing for food made it hard to continue drawing. I saved the image and closed the tablet. Sigh. If I could turn back time, I would tell the apples I spoiled last week that I loved them. Suddenly, a flash of white light, an apple, lopsided, appeared before me, its shape oddly familiar. Had my drawing come to life? 02. Unexpectedly, after the apocalypse began, I acquired a special power. My drawings could become reality, yes, just like the legendary Mao Yang. It seemed a bit eerie for such a thing to happen in a material world, but considering zombies had also appeared, I accepted it quite well. After an afternoon of experiments, I began to understand the rules of using this ability. Only drawings made on the tablet worked. Drawing on paper was ineffective. After saving the file, the drawn items would appear in real life. Saving the same file repeatedly would produce a physical object each time. I was thrilled. No more starving for me. That afternoon, I drew several apples, oranges, and bananas and delightedly had a fruit feast while optimistically looking forward to a better life ahead. I quickly charged my tablet. Forget about chasing TV dramas. From now on, it's all about enjoying delicious food. However, the next afternoon, I realized something wasn't quite right. The food only became real if the drawing resembled it, but with my first-grade drawing skills, I could at best draw apples and bananas, but one can't live on fruit forever. I really wanted to eat braised pork. Whimpering, after an afternoon of drawing on the tablet, I ended up with a bowl of rocks and some unrecognizable shapes. This wasn't working. My craving for food sparked an idea. I might not be able to draw, but others can. I quickly opened a video website and searched for tutorials on how to draw braised pork. 10 minutes later, me, QAQ. Half an hour later, me, QAQ. Drawing isn't as simple as wanting to draw and being able to draw, fortunately. Heaven never fails those who love to eat. After 2 hours of studying, I had before me a bowl of succulent braised pork belly in a bowl of rice. With the document saved, I now possessed an endless supply of braised pork and rice. That evening, eating the long-missed braised pork mixed with rice, I shed tears of joy. I felt invincible in this apocalyptic world, confident that as long as I had food, I could happily stay indoors forever. Day 7 of the apocalypse, the day after I had a full meal. A sudden power outage caught us all off guard, and there was still no sign of its return. 2 hours later, the neighborhood was in uproar. In our country, you can always trust the government machinery. Despite some minor disturbances, no major chaos had occurred since the apocalypse began. At least in the first 2 difficult days of fighting off zombies, our neighborhood remained safe. The biggest concern for the ordinary people now was food, but after the viral epidemic in previous years, who didn't have a stockpile of rice, flour, oil, and salt, we could survive half a year without leaving our homes, and in dire situations, we could even call for rescue. But now, the sudden loss of electricity, a system that was supposed to be responsive all year round even in typhoons or earthquakes, was gone, with zombies roaming outside. Who would dare to go out and fix it? Without electricity, we couldn't cook, light up our homes, access the internet, or communicate. Countless terrifying scenarios flashed through my mind. The cries and screams in the neighborhood made me feel like everyone was breaking down. I was breaking down too, because I had experimented too much yesterday. I forgot to charge my tablet before going to sleep, and now it was about to die. If only I had known this was all a dream. I woke up feeling deeply moved. No, I had to let fate know that I wouldn't give up. The spirit of eating never dies, even without electricity, racking my brains. I suddenly thought of someone who could definitely solve the problem. With a bowl of braised pork covered in a bag, I stood at my neighbor's door, knocking while cautiously looking around. This was the 12th floor. Surely there couldn't be any zombies. I hadn't heard any noise these past days. The door cracked open slightly, revealing a hooded black hoodie and a pale, thin face underneath, resembling a vampire. Cough, cough. I coughed lightly. Neighbor, do you have a power bank? He blinked. Silent, I quickly pushed forward the braised pork I was holding, mimicking a scalper's tone. Braised pork in exchange for a fully charged power bank. Deal. This is the last piece of meat from my fridge. It's a fair trade for you. I know you must have one. I saw the corner of his mouth twitch, seemingly speechless, still bearing that expressionless vampire look. All right, he said, closed the door, turned around, holding the braised pork. I stared eagerly through the door. 5 minutes later, he came out with a power bank, a generous 20,000 Ma1, handing over the power bank as I handed over the meat. His pale hand emerging from the black hoodie sleeve struck a chord in my heart, but the temptation of food hung before me, making me completely forget the allure of a handsome man. Reluctantly handing over the braised pork, I hugged the power bank, giggling as if it were the lover of my dreams. Thanks to the neighbor. Time to eat. I need to head back and make some food. No, it's more like creating art. At one point, I suspected my neighbor was a hacker. This apartment was bought with a down payment scraped together by my parents before they passed away. It has one elevator serving 2 units per floor. When I moved in, I was buried in overtime work. One night, nearly at 10 p.m., I rushed into the lobby, panting. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, I dashed in and managed to press the button for the 12th floor just in time to catch my breath. As the elevator doors closed, I turned my head and realized there was someone standing behind me, dressed in a black hoodie with the hood tightly pulled over his face. He was tall and lean, exuding a dark aura. His calm, black eyes peered out from under the hood, watching me. It took me a moment to realize that, apart from the 12th floor button I had pressed, no other buttons were lit. A chill ran down my spine as goosebumps erupted all over my back. I trembled and quickly sent a voice message to a friend. Baby, I'm in the elevator now. Remember to open the door for me later. A probing gaze from behind. I pretended to look back casually. Our eyes met. His gaze was deep and intense. Damn it. I forced a stiff smile, only to see him slowly press the button for the 11th floor before quietly lowering his gaze. Only then did my heart start beating again. I held my breath as the elevator stopped at the 11th floor. As expected, he stepped out, scared the hell out of me. Watching the elevator doors close, I breathed heavily. As soon as it reached the 12th floor, I rushed out, but something felt off, and my steps faltered. Suddenly, I heard faint footsteps from the fire escape. I cursed my ears. In an instant, scenes from various thriller and horror movies flashed before my eyes. Trying to maintain my composure, I continued speaking into my phone. Baby, I'm almost at the door. Come and get me. I'm so tired. The footsteps behind me stopped. With the speed of lightning, I dashed into my apartment, locked the door, and peered through the peephole while composing an emergency text, ready to send. 10 minutes later, he appeared in the hallway. My eyes widened as I watched him stop in front of the next door, pull out his keys, and open it. The next day, I found a basket of fruits from the community clinic at my doorstep, with a card that read, "Sorry." The handwriting seemed a bit cramped. This neighbor had left a deep impression on me, making me involuntarily pay attention to him. He was a nocturnal creature, pale as if never seeing the sun, always wearing a hat that obscured his face, occasionally. Mysterious people would quietly visit him, peeking through the peephole. I saw them moving various machines and computers. The electricity meter next door ran unusually fast. Sometimes I wondered if he was secretly mining Bitcoin. Based on my years of experience online, there's a 90% chance this guy is a hacker. I was too scared to even try using a master key to steal his Wi-Fi. When we occasionally met in the elevator, he was nothing but friendly. Connections like hackers are not something you can just stumble upon. See, didn't I just get a new power bank from him? Holding my charged tablet, I smiled contently, though his hands were really nice. I wonder what he actually looks like. In my mind, I instantly sketched out the image of a mysterious hacker. The electricity was restored the next day at noon. In the city news, the anchor reported seriously. There have been several more cases of zombie infections recently. Many regions have experienced localized paralysis, and the government and military are working hard to restore order, urging the public to reduce outings and take protective measures. The government will soon coordinate the supply of materials. Various opinions are expressed in the homeowners group, theories about suicide, fleeing, blaming other countries, divine retribution to humanity, and the idea that since we are all going to die, we might as well rebel, honestly. The fact that we've managed to remain calm up to this point is a testament to the efficient operation of our society and the silent cooperation of the people. In the first 2 days of the apocalypse, many lost their loved ones, and to this day, everyone's mental state is stretched to the limit. I held my tablet, hesitating for a long time. When one is poor, one looks after oneself. When one is wealthy, one helps the world. Now, I suppose I am somewhat wealthy. Although I can't draw as freely as I'd like due to my skills, I still live a very fulfilling life. I made up my mind. I drew 3 of the most common and simplest vegetables on my tablet: cabbage, potatoes, and tomatoes. Then I saved it again and again. Great, an hour later, I had a room full of vegetables, fresh and dewy. A week into the apocalypse, they definitely symbolized hope. I, a night owl, stayed up until 1 a.m., put on a raincoat, found the oversized height-increasing shoes I had bought and forgotten to return, and dragged my 28-inch suitcase, sneaking out through the emergency exit to the property management entrance. I almost thought I was disposing of a body. Fortunately, since the outbreak of zombies, such sneaky behavior hardly counts for anything. It took 5 trips to transport everything, then, using a secondary WeChat account to blend into the community's main group. As someone who frequents the internet, who doesn't have a few alternate accounts, I posed as a helpful big brother and posted, "Brothers and sisters, volunteers have just delivered a batch of fresh vegetables to the property management entrance. Everyone please organize and distribute them. I just checked. They are really fresh." I attached 2 photos of the supplies from all angles to prevent any embezzlement by the property management. Instantly, the group came alive. Thank you to the government for not abandoning us. Cherry blossom, cherry blossom, cherry blossom. I'm coming down now. We'll work extra tonight to deliver them to everyone. It's been almost a week. Finally we can eat fresh vegetables. So touching. Watching the chat, I threw myself on the bed, hugging my blanket and giggling with a sense of achievement, like having a magical ability to save people. The homeowners acted quickly to prevent crowds and avoid attracting zombies outside the community. Several volunteers bravely volunteered to distribute the vegetables according to the number of households, packed the supplies, and delivered them floor by floor. The disadvantage of neighbors keeping to themselves became apparent. When I opened my door, there were supplies in front of my door, but the next door was empty. Thinking of the power bank the neighbor had lent me, I took my bag of supplies inside, stayed for 2 minutes, then went out to knock on my neighbor's door. "Neighbor, these are the relief supplies sent by the government for you." The hacker students in different gaze swept over me and settled on the fresh vegetables. After a moment, he reached out to take them. "Thank you." His voice was as hoarse as I imagined, not used to speaking often, but surprisingly pleasant, and without any nasal quality. I cautiously glanced up at his jawline. Based on my extensive experience observing beautiful people online, the neighbor definitely had the looks of a handsome man. However, he had already ruthlessly closed the door. Considering you lent me your power bank, 07, the situation has not improved at all. Later, Power outages became more frequent, and occasionally there were also water and internet outages. Fortunately, I have a power bank and can stock up on everything I need with my magical ability, not just food but also daily necessities. But the situation outside was not the same. As time passed, more and more people began to lack water and food, and a large number of patients could not receive timely medical treatment. The government's relief efforts are like trying to put out a fire with a cup of water. Some people have no choice but to risk their lives and venture out to find food. Others no longer suppress their malevolent thoughts and, disregarding order, simply resort to robbery. As a result, the number of zombies wandering the streets is increasing, making it very dangerous for ordinary people every day. Screams and cries can be heard outside the window, sending shivers down one's spine, making it unbearable to contemplate. Our community is somewhat better off. We've received several batches of relief supplies, but the quality is inconsistent, sometimes fresh, sometimes barely acceptable. As the local delivery hero, I keep my contributions quiet, but this is not a sustainable solution. One noon, there was a sudden knock on the door. "Is anyone there?" A rough male voice. As I was sketching a sanitary pad, I sprang up from the couch and cautiously approached the door, peeking through the peephole without rashly responding. A simple-looking large man stood at the door, knocking and asking, "Is anyone in?" I held my breath and waited quietly. The man frowned and waited for a while, then suddenly turned back. "No response. It can't be. There's definitely a young girl living here, all by herself. I've seen her several times." Another man emerged from behind. I almost cursed it out loud. I quickly realized what I was facing. These people must have noticed that I lived alone and planned to rob me. Knowing no good would come of this, I stepped back and pondered my next move. Would drawing a gun and shooting them be considered excessive self-defense? But it seems like the police wouldn't be coming to arrest me anytime soon. Wait, I can't draw a gun. As I was lost in thought, the men outside began to smash the door. I realized there were 4 of them. "Open up, or we'll break it down. I know you're home." I rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and crouched behind the door, teeth clenched, mind racing. Just then, there was a click, the sound of a door opening. A chill ran down my spine. A second later, I realized it wasn't my door that had opened. I hurriedly pressed myself against the door, peering through the peephole. Outside, my mysterious neighbor stood in the doorway, still in his black hoodie and black pants, his pale skin just visible under the hood. "You're being very loud," he said coldly, emotionlessly. The tough guys turned around, cursing. "Bro, let's deal with him first. He looks soft and probably has a lot of good stuff at home, right?" "These homebody types always have good stuff," another agreed. They discussed among themselves, completely underestimating my neighbor. Only I could see clearly. My mysterious neighbor expressionlessly raised his hand, and I realized he was holding something. It was a handgun. The leader of the men, who had been pounding on the door, was shot through the shoulder in an instant. Silence fell, including me inside. Just, as a hacker, having a handgun is pretty normal, right? As the saying goes, no matter how skilled, one fears a kitchen knife. But even the toughest fall to a bullet. The calm demeanor of my neighbor while shooting scared the troublemakers away, and within a minute, they had disappeared from the doorway. I could no longer pretend to not be at home, so I cautiously opened the door and peeked out. Neighbor, thank you." My eyes fell on the gun in his hand, then quickly looked away. His hair partially obscured his eyes, his gaze was obscured, and I could only sense that he might have been looking at me for a moment. "Be careful," he said in a husky voice, which despite its coldness, sounded quite pleasant. I responded hesitantly. Internally, I complained, feeling utterly hopeless as trouble seemed to find me even when I was just sitting at home. He didn't speak again and turned away crisply, watching his retreating figure. I quickly called out, "Hey, neighbor, what's your name?" "I'm Sophia." The mysterious neighbor didn't turn back but dropped a name, Theodore. Great. Although I only heard the name, it flashed through my mind immediately. It seemed fitting for him, silent and brooding. His parents really knew how to name him. My neighbor became even more enigmatic in my eyes, especially after he coolly dispatched 2 zombies that suddenly appeared in the hallway. I also managed to get a gun through unofficial means, but I was too afraid to use it. As the chaos intensified, military personnel finally appeared outside our complex 2 days later. 09. The fact that some basic order was still being maintained showed the immense effort the nation was exerting. I hid by the window, watching the soldiers clear zombies and transport supplies. Unlike in apocalyptic novels, there were no supernatural powers. Despite having firearms, soldiers occasionally got caught by zombies. To avoid turning into flesh-eating monsters, they had to end their lives calmly under the sorrowful gaze of their comrades. It felt like 10,000 needles piercing my eyes at once. I bit my lip hard as I clutched my tablet. The extraordinary ability I possessed wasn't meant for me to live in isolation and only look after myself, right? I racked my brain, thinking of all the online novels and big zombie movies I knew. What are zombies afraid of? What are they afraid of? Brainstorming. Ding, a name suddenly popped into my head. Plants vs. Zombies. Though it was about zombies, the behaviors were similar to the zombies I faced. Maybe it was a shot in the dark. With such unreliable things as apocalypses and zombies appearing, why not fantasize about plants versus zombies, a power only found in stories? With this thought, I couldn't contain my excitement and quickly searched online for an image of a pea shooter, practicing until I could draw a decent likeness on my tablet, just in case. I also drew a shovel from the game that could remove plants, save as. A crisp-looking pea shooter appeared before me. When there were no zombies, pea shooters wouldn't shoot peas. Watching it sway its leaves and blink its eyes in front of me, I felt a complex emotion. Is this world even real? My eyes met the innocent, beady eyes of the pea shooter. Silence. Silence was tonight's Cambridgeshire. But, whether it's a mule or a horse, it had to be taken out for a walk. I had to try and see if this thing really worked against zombies. After all, zombies are still quite different. As the initial rush of emotions subsided, my long-lost rationality began to take the high ground, or rather, the basin. Anyway, at 11 at night, dressed in my familiar black raincoat, with the swaying pea shooter in a black plastic bag in my arms and the handgun I had managed to get hidden up my sleeve, I slipped out through a back door of the complex that wasn't covered by surveillance, though no one would dare to go out at this time. I still took great care for the sake of information security, afraid. It was my first time facing a zombie, and I was afraid. I gently stroked the smooth, plump forehead of the pea shooter nestled in my arms, finding it quite soothing to touch. Oops, getting off track here. Back to business, brother shooter. It's all on you now. You've got to power through, otherwise, I'll just have to grab you and run for our lives. The pea shooter joyfully wobbled as if to say, don't worry. Thankfully, a metal door was between us, offering some sense of security. Zombies, drawn by the scent of my flesh, began frantically clawing at it. I fought the urge to flee and unwrapped the bag covering the pea shooter. Go for it, brother shooter. It wasn't a pokeball. No, the pea shooter began rapidly firing peas, the sound of peas hitting flesh sounding incredibly realistic, unlike in the games where limbs and heads would fall off. A minute later, a zombie was punctured with a hole and collapsed to the ground with a thud. 3 minutes later, 6 or 7 zombies lay motionless on the ground, their throaty roars silenced. Bro, you're incredible. I hugged the pea shooter excitedly. The pea shooter remained calm in my arms. My heart was racing, and I even thought about taking it around the neighborhood to clear out all the zombies. Of course, Rome wasn't built in a day, and this wasn't a task I could accomplish alone. My mind began to review various plots from novels I had read about handling such situations. How could I safely hand over the pea shooter? Thinking this, climbing 12 floors didn't feel tiring at all. Panting, I exited through the safety passage and nearly jumped out of my skin as I ran into a shadowy figure, nearly falling backward down the stairs. It was my mysterious neighbor Theodore, who had been standing there for who knows how long. I stammered, hello, you couldn't sleep either and came out for a walk. He silently watched me. 10, great. No need to think about how to hand over the pea shooter anymore. I've been handed over myself. Just half an hour ago, Theodore and I crossed paths at the entrance of the fire escape. Guilty. I tried to cover it up, but Theodore just stared at me silently. In the quiet, the black bag in my hand moved slightly. That's a sunflower I bought from TikTok. The singing kind. Ha ha ha, I said, trying to nod and quickly slip past him. Suddenly, Theodore spoke. I've told you, huh? I foolishly turned back. Be careful. It might have been my imagination, but he seemed to sigh. I blinked innocently at him. Did he know something? but I hadn't even used his Wi-Fi. How could any hacker cheat like that? Theodore pressed his lips together, looked at me for a long while, and then managed to say, "The innocent must beware when possessing a gem." His tone was calm but carried a hint of detached concern. That was the longest sentence I'd ever heard him say. Before I could reflect on his voice, my heart skipped a beat. That meant he definitely knew something. When was I exposed? My eyes were filled with questions at the moment. Vegetables, very fresh, not delivered by volunteers, Theodore continued. Damn, I knew I had been careless. I held the squirming pea shooter tighter in my arms, gritting my teeth. Wait, how do you know they weren't delivered by volunteers? They obviously were. I frowned. Theodore stayed silent. A thought crossed my mind. Are you, like, an official person, a hacker? Oh, wait, no, a white hat. But why do you have a gun? Are you an undercover cop? Suddenly, I became the one incessantly asking questions. Theodore, seeing his reaction, I was almost certain of my suspicions. His gaze softened, almost like the wolf grandmother luring Little Red Riding Hood. Let me confirm your identity first, and I won't lie to you. I'll tell you something very important. After pondering for a moment, Theodore pulled out an identification document. Me, to think that the mysterious big shot lives right next to me. Theodore, I need your help. Use your authority to put me in touch with the highest level person you can access. I have something that could change the fate of the world. I had the sly look of a ticket scalper. An hour later, Theodore and I, along with two uniformed and gloved workers, were sitting face to face in my living room. 10 minutes earlier, I had verified their identities to ensure they were absolutely trustworthy. Everyone, what you're about to see might overturn your understanding, but don't be shocked, and don't think this is just a dream. After all, if something as unscientific as zombies can appear, it wouldn't be strange for other things to exist. I looked at them seriously, starting with a disclaimer. The two special department workers sat upright, intently focusing on what I held in my hands, nodding earnestly. Theodore, meanwhile, remained expressionless. I cleared my throat and swiftly uncovered a black plastic bag. A wobbly pea shooter appeared before us. At first glance, it looked like an ordinary figurine, until the pea shooter blinked and shook its leaves, causing the workers' expressions to visibly crack. Me, don't judge it by its current appearance. When there are zombies, it will keep shooting peas until it kills them. Have you played Plants vs. Zombies, workers? I awkwardly scratched my head. I'm really not joking. In fact, I drew this myself. 8 days ago, I discovered that I had this superpower. I pulled out a tablet to show them, as an apple materialized out of nowhere. The workers were momentarily stunned, but clearly, they were well trained. They soon said to me, "Ms. Lin, your abilities are very important to us. Could we invite you to come with us? We will ensure your safety and provide appropriate compensation." That was easier than I expected. I nodded. No problem. One worker turned to Theodore. Theodore, could you also come with us? The organization places great importance on your safety. Theodore, who had been sitting calmly on the couch the entire time, thought for a moment and then nodded his head. So, under the cover of night, we left the neighborhood in an official vehicle. On the way, I slightly opened the car window to demonstrate the pea shooter's attacking capabilities. Immediately, the workers' gazes towards me heated up. "Ms. Lin, we are very grateful for your help to the nation." I blushed and instinctively responded, "Serving the people." As soon as the words left my mouth, I awkwardly covered my face. Later, I learned Theodore's true identity. Turns out, he was a cybersecurity consultant for the special department, overly introverted, working remotely from home for a long time, as someone who had been a corporate slave for half a year after graduation. I shed tears of envy, so that's why there were so many strange machines in his house, and why I occasionally bumped into mysterious people at his door. It turned out he had noticed something off about me the day I traded him the braised pork, but he never said anything. He even had 2 small generators at his home. I felt like I had made a bad trade with my power bank. The workers led us to an office and indicated that we should wait. I noticed Theodore had been covertly examining the pea shooter in my hand all the way, and a mischievous idea crossed my mind. "Do you want to touch it?" I teased him like a quirky aunt might. Theodore remained silent, his gaze deep and distant. "How about you pull down your hood and I'll let you touch it?" I suggested. No response. I persisted. "Come on, we're insiders now, aren't we? Just pull down the hood. There's no one else around." It's plump and nice to touch. Kind of like a succulent but thicker. Have you ever touched a succulent? A minute later, Theodore pulled down his hood. Under the light, I saw his face in full for the first time. He was, truly, incredibly handsome. His face was pale, his features exquisitely delicate, resembling a BJD doll. His eyes were pitch black, his thin lips slightly pursed, making him look young, belying his 27 years. His eyelashes were long, fluttering slightly, giving him an uneasy appearance. A sense of fragility hit me, and looking at him, I could imagine 1,000 TV dramas. His clear eyes stubbornly fixed on me. I hurriedly handed over the pea shooter. Here, touch it. He carefully reached out, lightly touching the leaves of the pea shooter, his eyes subtly lighting up. His slender hands were beautiful, the skin pale with a hint of veins showing through. How about that? Feels good, right? I asked. He didn't speak, but his eyes said it all. My gosh. Why is he so adorable with and without the hood? The old rogue in me awakened. Since I had already abandoned shame, I might as well go all the way. By the way, you have beautiful hands, perfect for typing. How about I read your palm? I asked unreservedly. Just then, the office door opened and an elderly, imposing man walked in. I was absolutely sure he heard me. Damn, I wanted to draw a magic door and escape through it. Thankfully, a leader is a leader. He didn't bring up my embarrassing moment but instead sat down, introduced himself warmly, and started inquiring about the magic device. I sat very properly, though I wasn't much for watching the news. I had seen this leader often. I breathed deeply as we talked. The senior leader was very kind, speaking like an elder addressing a younger family member, asking me to just call him uncle. Gradually, I relaxed. That's basically it. I briefly outlined the various uses of the magical Mao Yang's brush I had discovered. Uncle nodded repeatedly. That's wonderful. This is a great thing for the people. Thank you, Sophia, for sharing this secret with the state and for everything you've done for the people. Hearing such words from a leader who deeply bowed to the populace, I was overwhelmed. During our talk, seeing the white hair on his head, I was nearly moved to tears. Since the apocalypse, countless leaders have gone gray. Facing such servants of the people, I felt only respect and shame. It was great to be able to help them. The efficiency of the state machinery is beyond doubt. Under the state's arrangements, I soon moved into the base, quit my job without any backup, and after 3 months, without the grind of daily life, I successfully landed a position as a civil servant. I lead a research team, with Theodore serving as both assistant and security consultant, and our deputy leader is an art expert. I suspect Theodore joined us for a reason. I really wish Uncle could forget the words he heard when he entered. A single mistake can lead to lifelong regret, yet, I've come to realize just how capable Theodore is. Though he speaks little, the whole research team operates efficiently under his coordination. Our tests revealed that this special ability works exclusively with a specific tablet and stylus and is effective only for me, useless to others. Fortunately, my cheat has 2 backdoors. There's no cooldown time. The finished drawings can be infinitely reproduced through the save as function. That should suffice. After studying Plants vs. Zombies for a long time, we finally selected a few typical plants: pea shooter, ice pea shooter, and dual pea shooter, among others. Under the guidance of the art expert, my drawing skills have improved daily. Indeed, professional matters require professional guidance. While we were discussing the plants we created, Theodore just sat quietly beside us, intently watching the plants shoot peas. Ever since he took off his hood in front of me, he rarely wears it. Whenever my gaze drifts, I can catch a glimpse of his delicate profile and long eyelashes, like tiny fans. He's truly the man who perfectly captures my heart, both his personality and looks combined. My fragile existence is thoroughly punctured. However, the embarrassing scene from that day is still vivid in my memory. A clear mind and reduced desires, immersed in work, the black-eyed plants are quite appealing too. Recently, a curious scene unfolded on the main roads of the city. At every intersection, plants from Plants vs. Zombies began to appear. Initially, everyone thought it was some sort of performance art and mocked it online. Can't be, surely no one believes plants can fight zombies. As the situation worsened, internet connections started to randomly disrupt. With unpredictable recovery times, following that post, a second one appeared. A simple symbol could convey the poster's emotions. Clicking on it, I found a video. The person filming seemed to have extended their phone out from a window upstairs. The original spot appeared to be launching something. Zooming in, the video showed a plant resembling the game's pea shooter continuously firing peas, and the approaching zombies staggering and falling to the ground after half a minute. The post was followed by a string of traditional expressions and various shocked punctuations. This phenomenon increasingly caught people's attention, gradually spreading from point to area. Thanks to Theodore, who wrote a program embedded in the tablet, we could continuously save as, enabling mass production. Automation is indeed the key to productivity. The main problem with clearing zombies is their relentless resurgence. Always migrating from one area to another, it's like trying to stop the spring wind or a resurgence of wildfire. But now, with a 24/7 guard that, unlike in the games, zombies don't eat, the areas with plants are once cleaned, become very safe. The only concern was whether someone might kidnap the plants to use them as personal bodyguards at home. This issue was also resolved as Theodore developed a chip implanted at the base of the plants that triggers an alarm if the plants are taken home. Naturally, the public also actively monitors, at least with the plants around. People no longer need to imprison themselves at home or venture out in fear. The plants have truly become a new national treasure. Kidnapping a plant right under the fans' noses would be a foolish act. The manpower released from guarding against zombies was then allocated to other urgent tasks, like emergency rescues to clear large gatherings of zombies. After our team's discussion, we drew a cherry bomb. But due to its nature of exploding upon deployment, when going on missions, I must be involved. The corn cannon could be used solely by the rescue team, but since we're unsure how to retrieve it and are concerned about the unknown effects of using it blindly, we decided against it. I'm sorry, but the cherry bombs are incredibly effective. They obliterate everything, including the zombies, on the spot. The remaining scattered zombies can safely be dealt with by people. All tasks are progressing steadily and improving. For a moment, the gloom brought by the zombies is gradually being cleared away. Although many areas are still overlooked, at least there is hope in people's eyes now. But I have lost hope, and I'm in tears. God knows why I, a clerical worker, have to undergo physical training. My leader has a very good reason for this. Sophia, you need to go to the site for missions. The situation on site can be very complex, and you never know when danger might occur. Therefore, you must strengthen your training to ensure your safety first. Understand? Well, my leader is absolutely right. It feels like waking from a dream that still moves me long after. The last time I had such a nightmare was during the 800-meter physical test in college. Yet these two scenarios are not even comparable, unfortunately. The instructor is a master specifically brought by my leader, and the tasks set are at my limit. I can complete them only by exerting my utmost effort, pushing both my physical and mental boundaries. If I slack off, the instructor would look at me disapprovingly. Me, QAQ. Fortunately, I'm not the only one being pushed in training. Theodore is also gasping for air beside me, but not as desperately as a dog who's sprinted 800 meters. His head is bowed, his somewhat long hair covering his eyes, sweat dripping down, his lips slightly parted, yet his expression remains calm. He looks so well behaved. This contrasts sharply with his cold demeanor when he's holding a gun and dealing with troublemakers at the door, but the contrast is rather endearing. I unabashedly admire his good looks. Blinking appreciatively, Theodore turns his head, picks up a bottle, opens it with one hand, and takes a sip of water. He stands up and reaches out his hand to me, up close. His hand is exactly as I imagined. Well-defined knuckles but not exaggerated, still muscular despite long hours at the keyboard. Not deformed like a pianist's, his skin is pale from being indoors, with faint blue veins visible. As clear and refined as he is, I flash him a big smile and unapologetically grab his hand to pull myself up. Despite Theodore's slender fingers, his grip feels very secure. I smile and jokingly say, just as I thought, really nice to touch. Theodore's lips tighten uncomfortably as he withdraws his hand. I cover my mouth, laughing. Neighbor, I've realized you're really not what I thought. Theodore falls silent for a moment, his voice deep. What did you think? Me, a mysterious hacker, a cold big shot? Theodore slightly lifts his eyelids, as if questioning what's different. Actually, you're quite shy. I cough lightly, glance at his furrowed brow. and quickly find an excuse to leave. With all this sweat, I'm off to take a shower, flirting then running away. Truly thrilling. 15. The order of the world pre-apocalypse is slowly being restored. The government publicly declared that the plants in the cities are bioweapons developed by scientists and broadcasted their effectiveness in real-world scenarios through the news, although some imaginative netizens speculated that these were the plants from Plants vs. Zombies crossing over into reality. Everyone treated it more as a joke without seriously considering supernatural possibilities. We've been racing against time these days, managing to rescue several large settlements that had fallen earlier. For instance, today, our mission was at the subway station in the capital of the southern province. Subway stations, being one of the most crowded places before the apocalypse, suffered severe zombie outbreaks. Despite the rescue team's best efforts, many were still holding on. We've developed a very coordinated combat strategy. My training has been somewhat effective. I've moved beyond just throwing cherry bombs with a tablet and am no longer just a mascot, although everyone still insists on keeping me protected in the center. After clearing all the zombies at the subway station, the team leader shouted through a megaphone, "Guys, we are the rescue team. The zombies have been cleared. Please remain cautious and slowly come out. Don't be afraid. We will take you home." Slowly, some ragged, gaunt people emerged from the corners, still wearing the clothes they had on the day of the apocalypse. When they went to work or school, I couldn't bear to look more, turning my head away as my eyes began to tear up. It was only in facing these people that I truly felt the reality of the apocalypse. Thankfully, heaven hasn't completely abandoned us. Our team quickly stepped forward, taking out water and food from their bags and distributing them to the survivors, while constantly broadcasting through the megaphone, hoping those hiding could hear. "Eat. You've had a hard time. After eating, we'll take you home." A skeletal mother led her daughter, who had a blank look in her eyes and chapped lips, shivering as she clung to her side, holding the water. She suddenly knelt down, tears rolling down her sunken eyes as she repeatedly bowed her head to the ground. "Thank you, thank you, thank you for not giving up," the survivors cried together. Everyone present was moved and quickly helped them up. "Don't be afraid. The nation hasn't given up on anyone. Don't be scared. You can rest now." Looking at these faces that had survived despair, I suddenly felt that what I had done was still not enough. "I need to work harder. There are still many people waiting for us to rescue them," I murmured. Standing next to me, Theodore shifted. "You've already done very well." Tears filled my eyes as I watched this scene of tears and love intertwining, shaking my head vigorously. "It's still not enough. Far from enough." Theodore hesitated for a moment, then slowly raised his hand, carefully placing it on top of my head, his gesture as light as a falling snowflake. "You're amazing. Thank you." I stared at him blankly. His gaze was serious. 16. I began to work very hard. I studied painting diligently, collaborated with the research team on new plans, and trained hard. The most direct result was that I quickly developed a toned body. All my hard work wasn't in vain. I felt truly incredible. Uncle was worried, probably concerned that I was under too much pressure. He had heart-to-heart talks with me more than once. "Sophia, you've already done so well. You are amazing. The rest needs to be shared with everyone else, understand?" I nodded fervently. "Yes, yes." Looking at Uncle's silver hair, I remarked, "I know this country is always best protected by its bravest people. I might be short, but that's where tall people come in handy." Uncle looked at me affectionately and said, "That's good thinking. You're still kids, after all. Is Sophia seeing anyone?" I blushed. "I'm still young." Uncle smiled knowingly. "I think Theodore isn't bad." Internally, I facepalmed. As expected, elders are always keen to dig into your romantic life. I knew he must have overheard that day when he came into the office. A single misstep can lead to eternal regret. I groaned inwardly 108 times but managed a reserved nod. "He's quite all right." Uncle gave a wise smile. "It's easy for you young people to make friends. Just get along well." I felt my face turn red. Suddenly, I felt like a hero, as if King Uncle was saying, "Brave one, I think highly of you. Once you defeat the zombie dragon, I shall grant you Princess Theodore." Consequently, every time I saw Theodore, I couldn't help but imagine him in a princess dress, looking aloof. I chuckled. Theodore, 17, as it turns out, promising a princess after slaying a dragon is just like saying you'll marry after the war. It's a flag. The hair across Theodore's forehead hid his expression as he slowly explained the situation to me. Unlike the traditional apocalyptic novels where animals and plants mutate, the mutation on Blue Star was only evident in zombies. Once bitten, one would lose reason, driven by an unconscious desire for human flesh, though they could still be killed. Although we've temporarily dealt with the zombies, we haven't addressed the fundamental issue of virus transmission and prevention, that is, a vaccine. After finishing, Theodore paused, then said to me, "So, thank you, you've saved many people." Oh my, how can he be so adorable? The usually aloof and taciturn beauty solemnly expressed his gratitude, and you can imagine the impact. "The matter of the vaccine and protection can now be left to us." I patted his arm. "Yes, don't worry, things will get better." Theodore nodded, and I teased, leaving him hanging. Theodore quietly waited for me to finish. I smirked slyly. "You'll find out soon." "Ah, princess, a hero isn't just thanked with words. Of course, the priority now is to secure the vaccine." I thought of a ridiculous idea, so outlandish that after hearing it, Uncle fell silent. "Uncle, Sophia, your intention is good, but it might still be a bit too imaginative." I clutched my tablet, looking at the bags under his eyes from consecutive sleepless nights. "Uncle, I think it's worth a try," I said earnestly. Uncle looked at Theodore. "What do you think, Theodore?" Theodore, sitting beside me, nodded. Uncle sighed. "Well then, give it a try." Theodore and I exchanged a glance, and he pulled up some images on his computer, samples of other vaccines. Yes, my idea was to draw a vaccine, and write on it in big letters, "Anti-zombie mutation vaccine." The idea was indeed far-fetched, but since I managed to draw the pea shooter, what couldn't be possible? Take a chance, a bicycle could turn into a motorcycle. I put my hands together, took a deep breath, and recited all the deities in my heart, hoping for a blessing. I opened my eyes under the watchful gaze of Uncle and Theodore, trembling as I picked up the pen. The room fell into an unusual silence. Not even breathing could be heard. I looked up and saw that Uncle had also unconsciously held his breath. Thankfully, meeting Theodore's calm gaze helped me settle down. The lines began to smooth out. 10 minutes later, the vaccine appeared on the tablet. "Saved." I swallowed reflexively. A high-tech, cold-to-the-touch safe appeared before us, and inside the open case lay the vaccine vials. It seems the advantage fate gave me was a bit too powerful. Things developed rapidly. We handed over the vaccine we drew to the researchers, and the experiments confirmed its effectiveness against the zombie infection. With enough samples for study and collective brainstorming, we quickly developed the vaccine. The entire population was vaccinated, mutants were captured, and order was restored. We haven't yet developed a cure to reverse the mutated zombies, and even if we could, not everyone can face the reality of cannibalism. After the chaos and sorrow, the world is beginning to heal. It's turning back into the world we deeply love and miss. Initially, I just wanted to eat a bowl of braised pork. I never imagined that picking up a pen would bring such a significant change to the world. It feels good. 3 months of apocalyptic disaster ended, the tablet and pen were archived, and I returned to being an ordinary person. What's different is that I now have a very stable job, my mortgage is paid off, and I've gained an incredibly adorable and charming boyfriend. Theodore sat quietly, his gaze gentle as he looked at me, his slightly pursed lips the only giveaway of his mood. I found him very easy to read, though often expressionless. His little gestures revealed his emotions. I leaned close to the back of his chair, staring intently at him on purpose. Theodore looked into my eyes steadily. If it weren't for the slight redness at his ears, you wouldn't notice his shyness. "Hey," I smiled. "Theodore, your lips look so soft. Can I touch them?" Theodore paused, his lips instinctively pursing. "I've noticed you like to purse your lips. Are they soft?" I blinked my big, watery eyes curiously, full of smiles. Theodore looked somewhat embarrassed, a stark contrast to his earlier decisiveness and strategic prowess. I teased, raising an eyebrow. Theodore sighed softly, his head moving forward slightly, and his lips quickly touched mine. "A fleeting touch, soft?" he asked in a husky voice, his expression calm but his ears flaming red. I shook my head. Theodore stiffened for a moment. "That was too quick, I didn't feel it. Let me try again." "Indeed, very soft. I still love this world."